So you want to experience spring in Stockholm? Maybe you're thinking of lush greenery and pleasant weather. Well, think again. Spring in Sweden is extremely volatile. One day you get a warm sunny day, and the next day you get a surprise snowstorm. Spring technically stretches from March to May, but that's just in theory. If you travel up north in Sweden, you'll definitely see snow in March. And even Stockholm can get snow, or at least a lot of cold rain, all the way from March to May. But you can also get really lovely pre-summer days. It's all a bit of a lottery. Now, given this unpredictable weather, what are the top things to do in Stockholm in spring? Let's start with an obvious one. You can visit one of the many museums in Stockholm. There's around 50 museums in Stockholm, ranging from amazing ones like the Vasa Museum to not so amazing ones like the Laundry Museum. If the weather is good, I recommend the ABBA Museum or the Nordic Museum, because you can stroll around on the island of Djurg&auml at the same time. There's also a Museum of Spirits here and the Viking Museum. You could also visit Skansen, a combined open-air museum and zoo, and I think that one is amazing, at least if it's not raining. The Museum of Science and Technology is one of my favorite museums in Stockholm, so I highly recommend it. It does lie a bit off though, so you probably want to take a bus to get there. But then you also have a lot of other museums. The Avicii experience is awesome, and if you have kids, you can check out the Paradox Museum. Oh, and there's also a toy museum and the Royal Armory and a lot more. If you're into art, there's also Fotografiska or Archipelago or the Modern Museum or Millesgården or Archdes, the Swedish Institute for Architecture and Design. Basically, there's tons of different museums for all tastes, and the best part is that you can adapt your visit to the weather. If the sun is out, head to one of the outdoors museums, and if it's raining, head to one of the indoors ones instead. So visiting a museum is perfect for the volatile spring weather in Stockholm. But I don't want to give you the impression that the weather is always bad. So what else can you do on a warm spring day in Stockholm? Look at those lovely cherry blossoms. What's this? Pictures from Japan? Wasn't this supposed to be a video about Stockholm? This is Kungsträdgården in central Stockholm, and it's famous for its cherry blossoms in spring. Tourists, as well as people living in Stockholm, love the cherry blossom season, and there's tons of people taking photos in Kungsträdgården. The only problem is that, as mentioned, the weather in Stockholm is fickle. The cherry blossoms usually bloom in April, but some years it's in May instead, and some years in March. And some years, like in 2026, they started to bloom in January because of a really mild December. Well, that changed in mid-January. Those poor blossoms got a real shock when the snow finally arrived. So it can be pretty difficult to hit the cherry blossom season in Sweden, but if you do, it's a great thing to check out. Skip Japan, go to Stockholm instead. Well, not really, but there is a Uniqlo right next to Kungsträdgården, so pretty similar, I guess. Stockholm is a really walkable city. Maybe not in winter, the pavements are slippery and it can get really cold. You don't really want to take long walks in that weather, but things definitely improve by spring. As soon as the sun shows itself, Swedes head out to get some sorely missed vitamin D. You can see people walking all around the boardwalks and the seafronts, and that's something that I recommend that you do in spring. I Ironically enough, for a cold country like Sweden, it can actually get pretty warm during summer, but spring often has excellent walking weather. Some of the best walks, in my opinion, include the route from Slussen through Old Town, past the Royal Castle and onwards to Kungsträdgården. And from there you can walk around the islands of Skeppsholmen and Kastellholmen. If you want to head south instead, or southwest, many people love the walk from Slussen along Monteliusvägen and onwards to Skinnerviksberget. The island of Långholmen also has some amazing paths if you continue west from Skinnerviksberget. And of course, we mustn't forget about Royal Djurgården, where you find the combined open-air museum and zoo Skansen. I highly recommend a visit to Skansen, or to just take a long walk on that island. To get to Djurgården, you can walk along Strandvägen, a really nice parade street. And I also love the walk from City Hall west to Rålambshovsparken. That's this route behind me. And a special shout out to Kungsholm Strand. That's a place that very few tourists find, but I absolutely love it. So yeah, take a walk along the seafront. That's something that you don't want to miss during spring in Stockholm. Close to Stockholm University, you find Bergianska, or the Bergius Botanical Garden. More than 6,000 different species can be found there, from all over the world. They have fruits and berries and plants from the Swedish highlands and many exotic plants as well. It's an absolutely gorgeous place, and it's a really good spot for learning more about Scandinavian flora. Aside from all the majestic gardens and pavilions, they also have a house called the Victoria House. It's named Victoria after the gigantic water lilies that live there, Victoria cruciana in Latin. If you want to visit the outdoors parts of the garden, it's free to visit and they're open all year round. But if you want to see the water lilies, then you have to visit in late spring since they aren't available until May 1st. But yeah, it's a really nice spot to spend a warm spring day in Stockholm. But if it's raining, you might want to do something else, like have a bite to eat. If you want to experience some fine dining, you can check out Frantzen, Stockholm's only 3 Michelin star restaurant. I haven't been there though, because it's pretty expensive. I prefer some slightly cheaper options, like Spesso or Asian Post Office, for some Italian or Asian fusion, even if those aren't cheap either. If you're on the island of Djurgården, you might want to check out the classic restaurant Ulla Winbladh for some traditional Swedish food. Personally, I usually go for a bit more of an Asian taste, like Weidao for some Thai or Chinese, or Tengu for ramen. And I love the Japanese donburis at Talk, a restaurant with an amazing view. But there are more restaurants than those in Stockholm. If you want to experience something a bit more unusual in spring, or at any time of the year really, then there are some pretty interesting options. Aifur is a Viking-themed restaurant owned by an old Swedish pop star, and it's actually really fun to go there. And it lies in the middle of Old Town, so it's really accessible. If you want more medieval food instead, you can go to Sjätte tunnan, which lies just around the corner from Aifur. But you might also want to visit Svartklubben for a dining experience in complete darkness. Or maybe Punk Royale for a dinner with extremely rude waiters and really interesting food. And if you just want something lighter, you can go to Pom Friterie for some amazing loaded fries. No matter what your preference is, Stockholm has a lot of restaurants to choose from. Next, I'm gonna recommend that you take a trip to a cemetery. No, that's not some kind of veiled threat. You should visit Skogskyrkogården, the forest cemetery in the south of Stockholm. This is a bit of a weird recommendation because it's an actual cemetery. People are buried here and family members come here to mourn, so don't expect a happy place. But you can expect a really interesting example of modern architecture. Skogskyrkogården was built in 1920 and it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1994. It's been praised for how its design intertwines with the natural landscape. And you can also see some magnificent chapels and other monuments. It's a beautiful place to visit, but since it's an active cemetery, you need to be mindful if you come here. Be respectful and make sure you keep your volume down. I'm not saying that that was aimed specifically at Americans, but I'm not saying that it wasn't. Oh, and there's a certain incident related to Chinese tourists that has a connection with Skogskyrkogården. But I'm not gonna talk more about that today. Maybe I'll make a separate video all about Sweden-China politics. You'll just have to wait and see. I'm leaving this as a teaser for the future. Let's stick to nature activities for a bit. Close to the city center you find the island of Royal Djurgården, and the whole island is well worth a visit. You can visit one of the many museums on the island, or you can go to the amusement park Gröna Lund. Or you can simply take long walks along the hiking trails all across the island. There's restaurants and history and interesting architecture and a lot more. But I want to give a special recommendation to the Rosendal Gardens. It's a lovely place in spring, for example during Easter. You can have some fika or a beer and you can look at all the plants and handicraft in the shops. The gardens themselves might not be in full bloom yet, depending on how early you visit, but it's still a really pleasant experience. Especially if you combine it with a walk along the northern trail along the water. I love that path. And along the way you'll also pass Rosendal Castle. It's a cute castle, even if it's not exactly a huge one. It's more like a little royal cottage. But yeah, Rosendal Gardens on the island of Djurgården, that's one thing I recommend. As you may or may not know, Sweden has a lot of theme days. And many of those are dedicated to foods of all kinds. We have a cheesecake day and a sandwich cake day. We have days for kebab and crayfish, and for meatballs, of course. And we also have the chocolate ball day and the sticky chocolate cake day. But if you're in Stockholm for spring, then you've unfortunately already missed one of the biggest themed food days, Semmeldagen. Or Fetisdagen as it's really called. It's a day when you eat semla, a traditional Swedish pastry with a lot of cream and almond paste. Another big day in Sweden is the cinnamon bun day in October, but that's of course a long way off if you're visiting in spring. All hope is not lost though, because there's still a couple of themed food days in spring. On May 15, it's the cardamom bun day, and it's an excellent alternative to the cinnamon bun day. Cardamom buns are really underappreciated in my view. Some people prefer them to Swedish cinnamon buns. But even more importantly, March 25th is Waffle Day, and that's another really important Swedish food day. So why do people eat waffles on March 25th? It's a bit of a weird story. March 25th is exactly 9 months before Christmas Day, and Christmas Day is supposedly when Jesus was born. So, March 25th is basically the day when Jesus' mom got knocked up, and it's a day called the Feast of the Annunciation, or Our Lady's Day in Christianity. And Our Lady's Day is called Vårfrudagen in Swedish. And Vårfrudagen sounds similar to Våffeldagen, Waffle Day, so people simply started to eat waffles on Our Lady's Day and cheekily called it Waffle Day. Given that Sweden is a very secular country, people quickly realized that they don't really care all that much about Jesus' mom, but they really like waffles. So these days it's very unlikely that you'll see anyone celebrating Our Lady's Day, but you'll definitely see people celebrating Waffle Day instead. Most people who visit the Stockholm archipelago do so in summer, but spring is also a good time for it. There's a lot fewer people, so you'll have a more relaxing time. And if you want to explore nature, for example by walking the Stockholm Archipelago Trail, the weather is usually really good for hiking. The island of Grinda makes for a good hiking destination in early spring, and if you wait until May, then more and more things open up all around the archipelago. Take a boat to Finnhamn or one of the other islands further out, and you can experience nature just as it's starting to come to life again after winter. And you'll be pretty much all alone out there. But do some research before you hop on a boat. Some restaurants and hotels might still be closed in spring. And if you want to do some specific activity, you should check whether or not that's available when you want to go. Kayaking in the archipelago is awesome, but it would be pretty miserable if you traveled out there for hours only to find that the rental place is closed, right? Still, the archipelago is a good option in spring, before the hordes of summer tourists arrive. For the last entry in this list, I have to mention something pretty special. If you happen to be in Stockholm on the last of April, you can visit a Valborg celebration. Valborg, or Walpurgis Night, is a day filled with song and celebration and huge bonfires. And it actually has ancient roots in Celtic and Old Norse traditions. Before the 1400s, Valborg was called Segerblot or Vårblot instead. It was an Old Norse ritual with sacrifices and lots of merriment of all kind. Then in the 1400s, it was transformed into Walpurgis Night to celebrate the German Saint Walpurgis. Walpurgis Night became a night where you lit bonfires and made loud noises to scare away the devil and evil spirits. And strangely enough, people had been doing pretty much the same things during the old Blot celebrations, so they adapted quite quickly. These days you can find Valborg celebrations all over Stockholm, but the biggest ones take place at Skansen on Djurgården or on the island of Grinda. So if you want to experience a typical Nordic tradition in spring, make sure that you visit during Valborg or Walpurgis Night. And those were my top 10 recommendations for things to do in Stockholm in spring. I hope you found it interesting and maybe even a bit useful. Like and subscribe, but most importantly, have a great day!